The Boston Celtics were simply outworked in their fourth quarter meltdown against the Minnesota Timberwolves. What can the Celtics learn from that as they prepare for a big time matchup against OKC on Wednesday night, and especially as they go into a gauntlet to end the year in terms of their remaining schedule? And also, how can Joe Mazzulla and the coaching staff better integrate Jason Tatum into the Celtics offense? This is Bleav in Celtics. I'm your host, Zach LeBlanc, telling you everything that you need to know about the Boston Celtics, especially as playoffs near. This is Bleav in Celtics. So Celtics, of course, Sunday night basketball on NBC and Peacock had the opportunity to take on the Minnesota Timberwolves, a game in which the Timberwolves did not have Anthony Edwards, so an opportunity for the Celtics to play a lesser team and a chance for the Celtics, especially. They've struggled against the top in the West all season long, 0-1 against OKC, 0-2 against now the Spurs. Split the season series with the Rockets. They did sweep the Lakers, and we'll touch on the Celtics' difficulties against some of the better opponents in the league later. But the Celtics in this game, an opportunity for them to get a win against a quality team out west, especially without Anthony Edwards. And it looks like that's what they were going to do early, jumping out to an early lead in this game. Their defense is really what controlled the Timberwolves in this one, holding Minnesota to just 14 points in the first quarter as the Celtics defense just swarmed the Wolves early on. But from there, Minnesota got back into this game, eventually to take the lead on a second quarter buzzer beater by Bones Hyland, who, just talking on him specifically, was a huge just momentum shift in this game for the Timberwolves, a huge X factor off the bench for them. We said it, Anthony Edwards not in this game, so where's some of that offense going to come from? Julius Randle was horrific in this game. So where does the offense come from? Well, you get in a guy like Bones Hyland, a guy who fed really off that crowd, off the energy, playing away. And that buzzer beater was huge for him. He was talking to everybody during the game, and him and Hugo Gonzalez get into it a little bit. But Bones Hyland really was the difference maker. Credit to him. Such a tremendous game. A guy that's bounced around a little bit before there be the Nuggets, the Clippers. Now making an impact here on the Timberwolves. And the Timberwolves in that second quarter, not only was it just Bones Hyland, starting to get some of that momentum for them in the game, but they really upticked their defensive pressure in this one, pressing the Celtics closer at half court, making their ball handlers uncomfortable. It led the Celtics to 9 turnovers in that second quarter alone. Jaylen Brown had 3 of them. Derek White was also 3 of them. And it really just swung the momentum in the favor of Minnesota in that second quarter, not allowing the Celtics to get into their offense. And it was the big change in the game because the Celtics, even in the first quarter, wasn't the smoothest of offensive starts to a game. However, the Celtics defense was doing enough to keep them to a 9-point lead to end the first. But now Minnesota, they pick up their defense, and all of a sudden the scripts kind of flipped in that second quarter and allowed the Timberwolves to go into half with a 3-point lead from that Bones Hyland buzzer beater. One of my favorite stretches, though, of this game, unfortunately, and what was a loss, were a lot of concerning things to take from, and we'll talk about, of course, the big picture. I don't think this is a loss where you're gonna worry about the Celtics in the future, but if we do see some of the habits from this game start to continue, then I think it's time to worry a little bit. But my favorite stretch from this game was the Celtics coming out of the half. Jason Tatum in the first half, 0 for 4. So really, Jaylen Brown to sort of talking to him, telling him, that he was helping him. I don't know exactly what he was saying, but of course, Jaylen Brown pumping him up, giving a little bit of energy. And Tatum comes out of the half, firing, looking like himself a little bit. Firstly, I love his first basket of the quarter for the Celtics, and Tatum getting downhill off a Kata screen to attack Rudy Gobert, just finishing underneath him. Next possession, he sort of snakes around another Kata screen, and him and Kata bump into each other, but he keeps his balance, steps back to the left and behind the line for a 3, and then he caps off a personal 7-0 run with a steal off the Timberwolves baseline out of bounds, just reads the play, intercepts the pass, and here he takes it in transition, showing a little bit of burst of energy, and him and Kata's on his left, and Tatum fakes the alley-oop to Kata, and then that way allows Tatum enough room to finish with the rim past Jaden McDaniels. And this is just, by far one of my favorite sequences by Jason Tatum so far in what we've seen in the short stints of what we've seen of him this season. Specifically, I love, attacking downhill against a guy like Rudy Gobert, who's obviously for a long time been one of the best defenders in the NBA. And Gobert gave the Celtics some problems in this game, but Tatum on the specific drive, able to get around him, goes up, finishes kind of through him, and then finally gets to see a three go down, stepping back, a little bit of off movement, and then playing some defense, reading the pass, showing a little bit of that burst of energy, and then attacking in transition. And then on top of that, a few possessions later, Kata again, we'll touch on him right after this, him and Tatum, and they're sort of the two of them working a lot in that pick and roll together. But Kata sets the high screen for Tatum, and he comes off to the left wing and he knocks at the transition pull up three over Rudy Gobert. So just a good stretch to start the third quarter for Jason Tatum. Did not have much else really in this game. A struggling night for him. Just six for 16, and still really just struggling to find his rhythm. I think something that the Celtics and Joe Mazzulla and that coaching staff need to do is draw some simple more touches for Jason Tatum. He's been on the ball a lot. His usage rate is 30%, which is just really under a percent or two under what Tatum has typically done the past couple of years. And a big part of it why is that they want to see Tatum obviously in that playmaking role. He's had a lot of options, whether it be, like I said, him and Kata together in that pick and roll has been a big thing. Joe Mazzulla talking about how Kata is really a connector, so having Tatum back, it just takes Kata's game to another level. And while will agree with that, I think the past couple games you've seen a lot of Tatum on the ball. I think it would be a lot more beneficial. Get him some post-up opportunities. Get him something down low, shooting over guys, anything that can have Tatum see the ball, just simply go in the net early and have him start to take some of those more difficult shots then when he's feeling confident. It's good to see Tatum take some of these shots. Like I talked about that transition three that he made. It's routine for him to try and find that rhythm, but they need him to just if they want to get to where they want to be, which is to win a championship this year, they need Jason Tatum much more of a rhythm. He's taken 139 shots so far since the return, and 70 of them have been threes. He is shooting a lot of threes, and he's always been a guy that shoots a lot of threes. But the problem is that he is not like is shooting 29% from three. I understand he's trying to get back into rhythm, but you're not going to get into rhythm by just forcing up threes every game. And this isn't, a critique on Tatum. It's not a critique on the coaching staff because, of course, they're trying to get Tatum integrated into the offense, but it does get to a point where it's like we gotta find ways to get him some easier touches. And this is something that we'll continue to monitor throughout the rest of the year. And why I don't want to say, like I said earlier, it's not be all end all. I don't want to critique the coaching staff yet. I don't want to critique Jason Tatum yet. But we are at a point where the closer we get to the end of the season, we do need to see whether it's Jason Tatum find a little bit of ways to play, maybe whether it be off the ball, the coaching staff set up ways for him to get down low in the post to score. Because I've liked what I've seen from Tatum on the ball in terms of his playmaking. I think a lot of his assist numbers have actually been sold. He had 9 potential assists in this Minnesota game and just finished with 2. So I think his playmaking has been terrific. But I would like to see the Celtics coaching staff find some ways to get Jason Tatum more involved in terms of just finding ways to get him some easier shots, because you already have a guy in Jaylen Brown who's really going to be your difficult shot maker throughout the rest of this year. And so for Tatum, it's about just finding his rhythm. I think that some of the shot selection, some of the ways that the coaching staff has integrated him could be a little bit better, because the Golden State game last week was pretty awesome in terms of Tatum. 5 for 11 in that one. He looked good. He looked efficient. But the past 2 games, the one against Memphis, 2 for 9 from 3, just did not look sharp in this one. And then, of course, the Timberwolves game, the first half, not so good, 0 for 4. And he had that little stretch to start the third quarter, but not much there. So we're going to have to keep monitoring those up and downs, of course. What can the Celtics learn from this game? We'll expect OKC on Wednesday to play a lot similar to how Minnesota did. OKC already one of, if not the most physical defenses in the entire NBA. And the Celtics are going to have to learn how to handle a lot of that ball pressure. And the Celtics, their schedule does not become any easier over the final 12 games of the year. The Knicks play the Pelicans tonight, and with a win, the Knicks will actually jump up to the 2 seed. The Celtics just a half game up. And the Celtics, just taking a look at that schedule, of course, OKC on Wednesday. And they get Atlanta twice, one of the hottest teams in the NBA, 14-2 since the All-Star break. You play the Hornets twice. Last time you played them, they absolutely smoked you at home. One of the hottest teams since January. Like we said, you get the Knicks, a game, the last game of the season, which could be big, a game that really dictates who gets that 2 seed. Of course, Orlando's in the mix. Miami, you get them for a game. Milwaukee, still uncertainty about whether, Giannis will play for the rest of the year. But even Toronto, a lot of quality teams. Like the only bad team that you play is the Pelicans, and you play them at home. But even then, if Zion's playing, you have to see what goes on there. So you're playing a lot of good teams, a lot of quality teams. And this is where I think the stretch where the Celtics are really going to have to figure out who they are. I teased that a little bit earlier. The Celtics struggles against some of these top teams in the NBA. 6-14 against teams with the top 10 in point differential. When you get into the playoffs, these are the teams that you're going to be playing. And if you're especially trying to shoehorn Jason Tatum into this, where the Celtics offense, since he's come back, they're 17th in offensive rating. It has not been good. And like I said, this isn't a criticism of Jason Tatum or the coaching staff because, of course, there's going to be a little bit of a grace period. But at some point, the Celtics have to get to back where they were playing on offense. And I think a big part of that is now that Tatum's that usage rate of 30%, you have him being ball dominant, you have Jaylen Brown being ball dominant. A lot of these guys, the ball isn't moving as much as I think it was before. And I think that's a big difference where these guys have been playing the same way all year. And now they're just trying to play a little different style of basketball to shoehorn Jason Tatum back in. The question is, do you have enough time to do it? We've got less than a month left to go in the season. Of course, 12 regular season games. A lot of not much time for the Celtics to figure it out, and especially playing against a lot of good teams. It'll be some good competition, some good opponents, and interesting just to really follow the Celtics for the rest of the year. Of course, this is Bleav in Celtics. I'll be covering all that, the rest of Tatum's integration, what I want to see from him, what I want to see out of the Celtics as they go on a big stretch here. I'm excited for this game against OKC on Wednesday. A chance Jalen Williams, of course, back in the lineup for OKC. Last time the Celtics didn't play him, especially last time these two teams face off. The Celtics were without Derek White, without without Jason Tatum. So a good chance to see the Celtics pretty much fully healthy outside of Nikola Vucevic. The matchup against OKC. And this is the thing. OKC's had the Celtics number this year and last year because they are so physical on defense. OKC, I remember the home game last year around this time in March. They let the Celtics simply just shoot. I forget the exact number, but I think the Celtics shot like 55 threes in that game. The Thunder are going to let the Celtics shoot as many threes as they want. If they're not going in, they're not going in. And when they get into the paint, they're going to be extremely physical. If you want to beat the Boston Celtics, you have to be physical with this team. That's what Minnesota did. They were aggressive. They really just stuck it to the Celtics. That ball, pressuring their ball handlers, I think is a big thing, especially too. You look at the fact that the Celtics traded Anthony Simons, a ball handler. So now, and you lose Nikola Vucevic, you obviously, of course, gain Jason Tatum back, but it just puts pressure on a lot of these other guys to have some of that playmaking, some of that ball handling responsibility. And if you force the Celtics not able to get into their offense, it's going to create problems. It's going to create turnovers, especially for a team that doesn't always turn the ball over. This year specifically, they've been so good in the turnover category. If you can now create some of those turnovers, it's going to cause problems for the Celtics. That's a big thing, especially against a team like OKC, who is so defensively sound. That's what I'm looking for in this game. And can the Celtics make their shots? How physical are they going to be in response to OKC? I think this is a real good measuring stick game because you're coming off. I would prefer that the Celtics put up, that sort of stinker against Minnesota rather than this OKC game, because OKC is easily, if not the Spurs, OKC is the best team in the NBA right now. I mean, of course, record wise, they're the champions last year for a reason. Have to, of course, see how the Western Conference shakes out, but you're going up against, the potential MVP here, potential back-to-back MVP. This is a big game for the Celtics, a big measuring stick game, especially with Tatum back. I would have rather see them lose that game Sunday night than come out in this one look flat the same way. So, of course, this is Bleav in Celtics. I'll be talking about that OKC game, the rest of the Celtics gauntlet later up this week, talking about what we still need to see from the Celtics as they gear up for the playoffs. This is Bleav in Celtics. I'm your host, Zach LeBlanc. Thank you for listening. As the Celtics gear up for the playoffs, I tell you everything you need to know here on Bleav in Celtics.